when she was 18, she became pregnant with twins by her high school boyfriend. Unfortunately, that relationship didn't work out and they ultimately broke up. And I believe he was completely out of the picture, but I don't know for sure. Shortly thereafter, in 2008, Samantha met Ernie Ibarra. She met him on Facebook. And after a while of online communication, they decided to meet in person. And they came to realize that they really hit it off. They had a lot of similar interests, such as tattoos and piercings. Now, Ernie was born on Christmas Day in 1985. He was said to be very intelligent, had very good grades. He was a bookworm, very into computers, technology, and gaming. In 2010, Samantha decided to start a YouTube channel, and she called it Simply Manic 6075. You can still go look at this channel if you would like. Now, I don't know why she named it Simply Manic. I heard no mention of her being manic or having bipolar disorder or anything, but maybe she was, or maybe that was just the name that she chose. But it was her belief that she could make it big on YouTube. Like, she had seen other people, just ordinary people, somehow becoming hugely famous for doing nothing in particular, and she didn't see any reason why that couldn't be her. Now, her channel was basically the type where she would just sit like I am in front of the camera and talk either about her life or something in the news or that sort of thing. I mean, it was nothing phenomenal, but it was, it was okay, I guess. I mean, I watched a little bit of it, just picked here and she went into a bathroom at Walmart to change one of the babies, and the changing table collapsed on her, which actually caused some major injuries to, I believe, her neck and her hip. And she wound up needing help at home to take care of all these kids. So her sister, Ernie's sister, moved in to help her. And while she was there, Samantha told the sister that Ernie had been beating her. And the sister didn't believe it at all. And Ernie's family didn't believe it. I mean, that doesn't mean anything, and I don't know if he did or he didn't. We don't really know, but there was no evidence of this. And eventually Ernie moved back in because he really needed to be there for the kids. And he asked her to marry him, or as I read it in some of my research, he agreed to marry her. So I'm not sure exactly, if that means she kept asking him or what, But anyway, they got married in 2014. Now, during that same year, she wound up reporting him to the police for domestic abuse. And he was arrested. But nothing came of it. There was no evidence, no charges, no nothing. So, now I should mention, I didn't bring it up before, but at some point in his past, he had spent some time in prison for assaulting a police officer. It was a traffic stop, and he had a bunch of old tickets or something. And when the police officer confronted him on that, they got into some kind of altercation, and he wound up in prison for that. So, anyway, but it still seems like, from what I saw, that he was seen as a pretty nice and decent person. It's hard to say, of course. Now, she started going around and telling everyone and anyone who she met that Ernie was beating her. Whether she was just looking to get attention or reaction or what, we don't know. Now, she didn't come right out and say it on her YouTube channel, but she had a little video on there where she holds up some flashcards and she's like flipping through flashcards. And it's like, and she's not speaking, it's like, I've been hurt. I've been abused. So, you get it. So, on the night of February 20th, 2015, in the middle of the night, she calls her mother in a hysterical panic, and she tells her mother according to Samantha, there had been a whole lot of noise. Somebody broke in. They beat Ernie. They pistol whipped him. There must have been a lot of noise, right? She said there were 3 men, and she couldn't see any of their faces. So these 5 kids all in one room asleep seems off, right? Plus, they don't normally sleep in one room, so that was also weird. And the aunt noticed that her car was missing, Samantha's car. She's like, where? Where is your car? And Samantha said, my car. It's not supposed to be here. Which is a weird thing to say. Where is it supposed to be? So then the police get there, and they're looking around, and they are thinking that although it looks a little bit messed up, it doesn't really look like a legitimate crime. It looks staged. She had been tied up with her own nightgown that was in her drawer and a pink ribbon. And so immediately, one of the first things they did was they put out a trace on Ernie's cell phone, so they could try to locate him. It was at that point when she excused herself to go call her mother. What did she really do? Well, we'll find out in a bit. So they did locate a ping on Ernie's phone, but then it went dead like a moment after that. So it was not very useful. So they took her down to the police station for questioning, and they kept her for a very, very, very long time. And mostly she just had no idea what could have happened, why did this happen, no idea. And then it's like she had an epiphany, and she's like, wait a minute, I have an idea. I was at the hospital the other day visiting my friend who just had a baby, and her boyfriend was there, and I was telling them about how Ernie beats me. And this guy, Jonathan, was like, he beats you? That's terrible. What kind of person would do that? I will take care of him, or something to that effect. She's like, maybe he did something. Like, that could be. Like, I don't know him, though. Like, that's the only time I saw him. But that's what he said, and I'm thinking, maybe you went ahead and did something. So then they leave her alone in the interrogation room. She knows she's being watched, so she's one of the smarter criminals out there, at least. But not that smart, actually, I take it back. So, they have like a dry erase board in there and a marker. So she picks up the marker and she writes on it, "Have you found my husband?" And then she looks up at the camera and she like this. Like she was trying to communicate with them through the camera. So, meanwhile, they go out and they get this guy. His name is Jonathan Sanford. And, I don't know what she was thinking. Did she think that she could give his name out and he would come in and not say anything about her? So they bring him in and he spells the entire story, like lock, stock, and barrel. He brings them to the body. He explains to them what happened. He said that, yes, they met in the hospital. Shortly thereafter, she came over to his house and she brought all 5 of her kids because I Is that something we can do? So ultimately she decides, yes, let's go ahead and do that. Let's just kill him. So the night in question, which was, as I said before, February 20th, 2015, he and his 2 accomplices come over to her house in her car, which they had because the night before, the day before, they had dropped her off and then kept her car so they could do this crime in it. So they come over to the house. They took the meth that they were originally going to plant in Ernie's car, so they took it instead. They came into the house, the door was unlocked. They did not tie her up. They got him. They pistol whipped him. They dragged him out of the house to the car. And then one of them came back in to tie her up. But she said, before you tie me up, let me call my mom. So that whole thing about the nose was a lie. You know, she didn't dial with her nose. She called her mom. And then they tied her up. So then they left with Ernie. They took him out into the forest, and Jose Ponce is the one who actually pulled the trigger, shooting him in the back of the head, I believe, which is just so tragic. Like, I don't know if he, was actually abusing her or not. Like, there's no way to know, but it doesn't matter. He didn't deserve this. So now remember when she excused herself to go and call her mother when the police were over? Well, what she really did was go and send a text to Octavius Rhymes, basically telling him to shut off Ernie's phone and get rid of it, because it just occurred to her that the police were tracing it. So she told him in several texts to get rid of it. And she erased those messages, but the police were able to retrieve them. So that was kind of damning. How do you explain that? And remember, she said she didn't know Jonathan. She only just met him at the hospital. She never saw him again. Well, then why was he seen in Walmart on their CCTV with her 5 children, like all holding on to his shopping cart? How did that happen? Because he had been watching her kids for a little bit and he took them to Walmart and it was caught on camera. So that made her a liar again. Jonathan also said that they had discussed the 5 children and what were they going to do to keep the kids from hearing all the commotion, and she said she would give them something to make them sleep. So what that is, we can't say for sure. So bottom line, all these people were arrested, and Samantha, even though she did not do the crime, clearly she was responsible for it more than anyone else. She got 50 years for kidnapping and 99 years for murder, to be served consecutively. Jonathan and Jose each got 50 years altogether for the kidnapping and murder. these other two men were like the same, and they all just decided to take a risk like this. Like, no way, there is zero chance that that is correct. But nobody knows. Nobody. And what could you possibly offer him? She didn't have any money. So I have no idea. Now, and why did she do it? Do we really think it was because he was beating her? Even though there is no physical evidence of that. Nobody has any pictures of her having any, bruises or anything. There's no witnesses to it. There's no nothing. Well, what everyone seems to believe, which seems most likely, is she did it in the hopes that she would become YouTube famous. As crazy as that sounds. Maybe she thought that if her husband were murdered, it would be a big story that would make it to the news, and then everyone would go look her up on YouTube, right? And her channel would become huge. Maybe she cared that little about his life. So she thought that this would make her super famous. I mean, nothing else makes any sense, because think about it, if with him out of the picture, where is her money? She has 5 children. If he went to prison, even with the first idea, if they planted the drugs on him and then he went away to prison, where was she gonna get any money? I mean, maybe she thought that would be a big enough story to make her YouTube famous, that her husband went to jail for drugs, maybe. I don't know, it just doesn't make sense, this story. And interestingly enough, now she is kind of infamous. I mean, not in the most, tremendous way, but there are a lot of people who know this case. But I don't think that is exactly what she wanted, And her channel, when I first punched it in, on the keyboard, I was thinking it was gonna be a huge channel, just because people had probably all gone to look at it, the way I was. No, not really. She has 1.9 thousand subs. So, I guess all the people who came to look did not subscribe. Probably some of them did, because I don't think she had anywhere near that many subs when she was really doing the channel. So, tell me what you think was her motive. Now, one more thing is that she is now available to be your pen pal on jailbabes.com. So let me just read you her profile. There is never a dull moment with me. I am a caffeine-addicted Mormon who loves to laugh and enjoy life to the fullest. I love to meet new people. It's always quite interesting getting to know people from all walks of life, so never think we'll be ill-matched. I'm not judgmental. I have a passion for anime, manga, cosplay, cosmetology, literature, gaming, and enjoying those I love. I enjoy the outdoors and nearly every animal, cats being the best, obviously. LOL. I'm a bit of a nerd, but I'm fun. I'm trying to learn Spanish, and I'm nearly fluent in American Sign Language. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not gonna read the whole thing. Write me so we can play together. You won't be disappointed. And then in her little description section, it says race, white, date of birth, 8/28, 1989, height 4'10", religion Mormon, education some college, earliest release date 2040, maximum release date 2164. Can you respond to email? No. Please provide your mailing address so I can respond. Activities in prison, reading classes screen.